During the height of the COVID pandemic, while lockdowns were still happening all over the world, a tech company's CEO named Bradley Hasling appeared in an online interview to introduce his company's newest product called Kimi. The device worked like smart speakers such as Alexa or Siri, and users could activate it simply by saying the name Kimi.
Kimi?
I'm here.
But behind the scenes, Kimi was not as advanced as people believed. Instead of relying entirely on sophisticated AI, many of its responses were manually corrected by human workers who translated and reviewed commands from home. Whenever the device misunderstood a user's request, the recording would automatically be flagged as an error and sent into the system so employees could listen to it and improve the response. Obviously, that process raised serious privacy concerns. At the same time, Amygdala was only about a week away from launching its IPO and selling shares to the public. After the interview ended, Bradley happily talked with his wife about how the company's stock price was expected to be much higher than they originally imagined. If Kimi became a huge success, Bradley stood to make an enormous amount of money. Meanwhile, Bradley had secretly hired a man known only as R to track down someone important. Even after trying various methods, R still had not found the person, but he continued demanding payment from Bradley for the work he had already done. Elsewhere in Seattle, a woman named Angela worked as one of Kimi's translators and reviewers. She lived alone in her apartment and suffered from severe agoraphobia, an extreme fear of the outside world that had become even worse because of the pandemic. Because of her anxiety, Angela became obsessed with cleanliness. She brushed her teeth repeatedly throughout the day and constantly changed her bed sheets and pillowcases. Not long after that, Angela planned to meet her boyfriend Terry, who lived in the apartment building across from hers, so they could eat together outside. She prepared herself carefully by putting on a mask and bringing various cleaning supplies, but every single time she tried to leave, she froze at the apartment door and could not bring herself to step outside. Whenever her anxiety became overwhelming, Angela would call her mother for comfort. Her mother encouraged her to seek online therapy in hopes of overcoming her agoraphobia. Since Angela's job involved carefully analyzing audio recordings captured by Kimi devices, she needed complete silence while working. Because of that, she made an agreement with the construction foreman renovating the apartment unit above her. The workers were only allowed to make noise between specific hours on weekdays and Saturdays, and they were not allowed to renovate at all on Sundays. However, while Angela was starting her shift, a man named Kevin could be seen watching her apartment from a distant corner unit in the building across the street, and all of it was connected by one device. Welcome to Kimi.
Kimi!
I'm here.
That night, Angela exchanged messages with Terry and invited him over to her apartment. After spending some intimate time together, the two of them sat down and talked for a while. Terry encouraged Angela to start trying to leave the apartment again and slowly face her fear of the outside world. But Angela immediately became defensive and irritated. Frustrated that she refused to listen, Terry eventually returned to his own apartment in anger. And once again, Kevin could be seen secretly watching everything through a pair of binoculars. Later on, while continuing her usual job of reviewing corrupted Kimi recordings, Angela stumbled across a strange audio file that sounded like a woman screaming underneath extremely loud music. Curious about what she had just heard, Angela used her audio editing tools to clean up the recording and isolate the voice more clearly.
Shut your mouth, bitch.
As soon as she finished processing the file, Angela was horrified by what she heard. She immediately contacted her supervisor, Christian, and warned him that the recording might contain evidence of a serious crime. The next morning, Angela's gums became badly swollen from brushing her teeth too often. Her doctor advised her to come into the clinic for treatment, but Angela refused to leave the apartment and instead asked for antibiotics to be delivered to her. After listening to the suspicious audio himself, Christian instructed Angela to simply mark the recording as corrupted and move on. Amygdala wanted no involvement in whatever might have happened inside a Kimi recording, and investigating another person's device remotely required authorization from high-level executives within the company. But Angela was convinced that the recording captured a woman being assaulted. Eventually, Christian gave her the phone number of an Amygdala executive named Natalie, the person responsible for managing the accounts connected to every Kimi device sold by the company. However, every time Angela tried calling Natalie, only her assistant answered and claimed she was unavailable.
Hello, I was just wondering if Miss Chowdhury was in yet?
Miss Chowdhury is not in just now. Did you send the report?
The assistant suggested that Angela visit the office in person instead, but because of her anxiety, Angela refused to go. Desperate for answers, Angela contacted a fellow Kimi translator named Darius, who lived in Romania. After Angela explained how remote access to Kimi accounts worked, Darius agreed to help her using the device number connected to the strange recording, along with an admin code he created for her. Once Angela accessed Amygdala's database using the information Darius provided, she finally discovered the owner of the Kimi device behind the recording. The device belonged to a woman named Samantha Garrity, who lived at 73 Spruce Street in Seattle, the very same city where Angela lived. After that, Angela began listening through several voice recordings taken from Samantha's Kimi device, until she eventually uncovered something horrifying. In one of the recordings, Samantha admitted that she had been assaulted by a man named Brad. She also revealed that a product created by Brad was extremely dangerous and could easily be hacked at any time, although she never clearly explained what product she was referring to.
I don't know what you want.
I want people to know who you really are. I know things, Brad. People need to know about your shitty product.
Even worse, Angela later discovered an audio recording capturing Samantha's murder at the hands of two men. As she listened to the sounds, Angela could only imagine the terrifying situation Samantha must have gone through. All of those recordings existed because, before the incident happened, Samantha had activated her Kimi device and instructed it to record everything. Angela was deeply shaken after hearing the files. Not long afterward, Natalie finally returned her call. Once Angela explained the situation and described the disturbing recordings, Natalie urged her to come directly to the office and promised that the FBI would be brought in to investigate the case. Angela agreed, and after ending the call, she quickly downloaded all 21 audio recordings from Samantha's Kimi account onto her phone before transferring them to a flash drive. For the first time in a long while, Angela forced herself to leave her apartment and head toward Natalie's office, desperately trying to suppress her fear and anxiety along the way. Meanwhile, Kevin continued watching her movements from a distance. At the same time, Bradley received another call from the mysterious man known only as R. He informed Bradley that the recordings from Samantha's Kimi device had leaked to one of Amygdala's translators, who was now on the way to meet Natalie. At that moment, it became obvious that the Brad mentioned in Samantha's recording was actually Bradley Hasling himself, the CEO of Amygdala. When Angela finally arrived at the Amygdala office, her eyes were scanned and she was given an access card to enter Natalie's office on the third floor. But once she got there and explained everything she had heard in detail, Natalie immediately asked her to play the recordings. Angela refused right away because she believed the files should only be heard in front of the FBI. Her suspicions also grew stronger when Natalie asked for Samantha's Kimi device number, claiming she wanted to retrieve the audio files personally. Angela started to suspect that Natalie, as a high-ranking Amygdala executive, might actually be trying to cover up the entire case to protect the company's reputation. Not long after that, Natalie shifted the conversation toward Angela's personal history and brought up the leave of absence she once took after experiencing sexual assault. Tragically, instead of helping her, the police had interrogated Angela while the attacker walked free without consequences. That traumatic experience was ultimately what caused Angela's severe agoraphobia in the first place. After that, Angela brought up the retina scanner installed at the building entrance, the same scanner that had immediately recognized her identity. That realization disturbed her because it meant Amygdala already had a copy of her retinal data stored in their system without her fully realizing it. Natalie then explained that Angela had technically agreed to it when accepting Amygdala's teleconference terms and conditions. Hidden inside those agreements was permission for the company to scan employees' retinas the first time they used the teleconference system. Not long afterward, Natalie excused herself to call one of her associates and asked Angela to wait in the office for a moment. Trying to calm herself down, Angela stepped into the restroom. But while she was there, Darius suddenly sent her a message warning that all of Samantha's Kimi recordings had just been deleted from Amygdala's database. Angela immediately panicked after reading the message, and things became even more suspicious when two men named Mark and Spencer suddenly arrived and headed toward Natalie's office. Sensing that something was seriously wrong, Angela wasted no time and quickly escaped through the emergency stairwell. She rushed down multiple floors, even passing through the server area, while most of the building's doors remained tightly locked and accessible only with special key cards. Fortunately, Angela managed to get out of the building and immediately headed toward the nearest FBI office, which was about a 20-minute walk away. Along the way, she tried calling Terry for help, but he never answered. Meanwhile, Bradley met face-to-face with the mysterious man known as R, whose real name turned out to be Rivas. Earlier, Rivas had been hired to locate Samantha, and now Bradley was paying him again to track down Angela before she could expose anything. Rivas then hired a Russian hacker to trace Angela's identity and location through her phone. But Angela already understood the manipulative methods used by giant tech companies like Amygdala, so she quickly turned her phone off to avoid being tracked. Unfortunately, the hacker found another way by remotely reactivating Angela's phone without her knowledge. Realizing what was happening, Angela immediately threw the phone into a trash bin near a large crowd of protesters. But by then, it was already too late because her location had been identified. Moments later, Mark and Spencer, who were actually working for Rivas, arrived in a black van to abduct her. Luckily, Angela managed to escape before they could capture her. Even though Angela had already thrown away her phone, the hacker was still able to examine its search history and realized that she had been heading toward the FBI office. As Angela approached the area, she noticed several suspicious people nearby, and moments later she was suddenly attacked and knocked unconscious. After that, Mark and Spencer brought Angela back to her apartment, planning to kill her there and make it look like a robbery gone wrong. Not long afterward, Kevin finally showed up, the same man who had been secretly watching Angela from afar this entire time. But it turned out Kevin was never working for Bradley at all. He had only been keeping an eye on Angela because he was genuinely worried after noticing that she almost never left her apartment. Unfortunately, Spencer immediately stabbed Kevin in the stomach to stop him from interfering. At the same time, Angela, still dizzy and barely able to stand, rushed upstairs toward her apartment. But once she got inside, she discovered that Rivas was already waiting for her. Rivas searched through Angela's bag and quickly found the flash drive containing Samantha's recordings. He then pointed a gun at Angela and demanded to know whether the files had been copied anywhere else and how she had obtained them in the first place. When Rivas threatened Kevin with the gun, Angela had no choice but to admit that the audio collection was also stored on her laptop. The atmosphere inside the apartment became incredibly tense as Kevin continued losing blood from his stab wound. While Rivas and Mark checked Angela's laptop, Spencer sat nearby, intimidating both Angela and Kevin with a knife placed on the table. A little while later, Angela's mother suddenly called her through video chat, and Angela quickly instructed Kimi to answer the call automatically.
Kimmy?
I'm here.
Answer FaceTime on laptop.
Her mother was shocked when she saw two strange men inside Angela's apartment, especially since Angela's phone had been unreachable the entire time. That moment gave Angela an idea. She immediately ordered Kimi to shut off all the apartment lights and blast music at maximum volume. Using the chaos as a distraction, Angela attacked Spencer and ran into the storage room, locking the door behind her with a mop handle. Thinking quickly, Angela climbed into the narrow space between the ceiling and the apartment unit above, which was still under renovation. After hearing movement overhead, Rivas started firing bullets into the ceiling, but luckily none of them hit Angela. Eventually, she managed to reach the unfinished apartment upstairs and grabbed a nail gun. At the same time, Terry was on his way to Angela's apartment after noticing her missed call earlier. After all of Amygdala's hired men were dead, Angela used Kimi to contact 911 and reported that intruders had broken into her apartment, that 3 people were dead, and that Kevin had suffered a serious stab wound. Not long afterward, Terry finally arrived carrying flowers, only to stand there in complete shock at the scene waiting behind the apartment door. Following everything that happened, Samantha's murder case was eventually exposed to the public thanks to the audio evidence Angela had saved. Naturally, the Amygdala company suffered massive consequences, especially its CEO Bradley Hasling, who was officially named as a suspect in the case. As for Angela, she slowly began recovering from her agoraphobia. She even dyed her hair pink as a sign of her growing confidence, and her relationship with Terry became much more loving and stable afterward. So the moral of the story is never trust a smart speaker that listens harder than your own therapist, and maybe stop brushing your teeth 50 times a day before you accidentally unlock FBI mode.